We don't have to tell people who we are. We eliminate all of that. Just by our dress, they know what we stand for. So if you're on a subway and someone sees you, I can't tell you how many people I have met that blurted out their life story to me because they needed to talk to somebody that day, and they figured, there she is.
It's a question for them. And so I've had people approach me and say, exactly what are you? Or why do you wear what you wear? Or what is this? And it's a perfect opportunity to connect and say something.
The priest who began the Daughters of St. Paul, Blessed James Alberionne, saw in the early 1900s how powerful the press was becoming. He saw the need to put the media at the service of the gospel.
The Sisters of St. John the Baptist are a community founded by Alfonso Maria Fusco. He decided at that time that he would begin an educational institution, and I guess he was smart enough to realize he couldn't do it alone, and asked women who were interested in helping him, and that's how the Sisters of St. John the Baptist really began to form. The black and white is a symbol that we're separated from the rest of the world in a different way, and our goals are a little bit different.
Blue is a more neutral color than black and white. The way that it is worn communicates very clearly to the people, we're kind of set aside, we belong to God. The habit is given to the sister the day before the actual ceremony, and then as the ceremony begins, she actually walks in wearing.
I thought about what I was doing with my life a little more consciously as I put that habit on. Putting something on that was going to help remind me that I was in the process of learning how to be a Sister of St. John the Baptist.
So even within our black and white, we each have our own style of what we like, what don't like, and I think that makes us different within, and who makes our personalities come out as well. How to find unique style. Did you see the difference in the back of the house?
Now see how this is longer and wider, as is shorter and narrow. Like some people wear like really, really, really narrow, so it's like a ponytail.
Our individuality comes out just because we come to know each other in a more profound way.
This blouse, it can be anywhere from white to cream to light blue to a lighter pastel color. So sometimes it's like that.
There are other ways of expressing our individuality also. The different musical instruments that people play. There's even a simple reality that most of us have cell phones, and the ringtones may even be helping to identify, this person's personality. There's so many creative ways of sharing who we are.
I would go to school, public school, and have this deep love for God in my heart and feel slightly like a freak.
By the time I was a junior, I was pretty sure that I would be entering the community. And it was a time for the prom and getting your class ring and all that. And inside I knew I couldn't do that. Like I could, but I couldn't.
My youngest brother hid the letters from me that came from the convent. He didn't want me to join. And we were close, and actually because my mother had died, I was probably the closest thing to her for him.
When I told them that I wanted to enter, my father and mother were very unhappy. They didn't see the broad view that I had of religious life, and they just felt that they just wanted me to get married and have children.
When I sat with my brother and my father, and I said, well, I've decided to enter the convent and become a Sister of St. John the Baptist. And my father looked at me and he said, no, my father is a strict Italian man. And he said, go to your room.
My father was fine until the very end at the airport. He sobbed. I had never seen him sob. So there I am on the plane trying to get control of myself. And I sobbed too, and my two girlfriends sobbed. And everybody's crying. It's like, oh, this is terrible. So there's a fellow who was sitting next to me in the flight. And he says, so what are you doing? And I says, well, I'm going to school in Boston. And I was like, I don't even want to go there, like I can't take this anymore.
And I was actually going through a difficult time at that point because I had graduated college and I was working in a prison. One of the inmates, I overheard her talking on the phone. She spoke about a grace that she had received through prayer. And it actually made me very angry. And I spent forever trying to figure out a way to prove that this never happened and that she was really lying about it. And I ended up going to the 4 o'clock Mass. And at that Mass, I had my own conversion experience. And that was really when I decided that I needed to be in the church. I didn't want anybody to know what I was thinking, so I was actually going to a different church every day. The church didn't have pews, it had chairs instead, and I was very intrigued by what I saw with these sisters and their habits, and I was kind of studying them from afar, and whose habit was whiter than the others, and the rosary beads were placed a little more to the front, to the back, or I didn't see rosary beads on this other one, and I was leaning over further and further and further until I fell over and knocked the chairs out of alignment during the gospel, so everybody saw.
It's true that because we're dressed as sisters, there can be an expectation on the part of people. My little niece was probably 4 years old, and all of a sudden she saw me not wearing my habit, and she's on the ground, arms and legs flailing in all directions, and she says, "You don't have to wear your dress, your nun dress?" And I said, "Well, we're going to go hiking. What if I tear it on a rock?" And she said, "Oh, then you have to tell." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting. Who do I have to tell?" She looked at me and she said, "The king of the nuns." I was going to the beach. If I were to stay in the habit, it would be a little awkward for the people on the beach, and it would probably be awkward for my family. And it's not really necessary. It's not really appropriate beach clothing. So there are situations like that where it's appropriate to change.
I can remember going as a young sister to a graduate school. The elevator door opened and there was some guy in there who spit at me and started to curse me. Now he had his own problems. It wasn't me personally, but it was the habit. That's the only really terrible experience I've ever had.
I think sometimes our presence, I don't think makes people, maybe it does make some people uncomfortable, but I think it calls people to be, well, I think you said it before, to be better. Or, they will smile, where sometimes people, you're walking down the street in Manhattan, people don't smile at each other. But if I'm walking down the street, or one of us are walking down the street, you'll see people smile. It's like they're not afraid, or they'll greet you, "Good morning, sister, how are you, sister, how are you today?" And it's a nice thing, and sometimes I forget, I go like, "Oh, good morning," or, "How are you?" So I think it's that type of a thing that maybe it's a very positive presence that people can feel comfortable in saying hello.
And once in a while, you might get somebody that'll pick up the tab.
That's true.
Maybe.
I meet
That's-
a man on Staten Island. When he meets a sister, he takes out a $20 bill. Well, I've met him 3 times now.
The demands of society can be tough on a wardrobe and on finances. And to me, I did appreciate that wearing a uniform would really allow the simplicity to give my time and energies to other things.